It's now 8:15 and we will call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will begin with approval of the agenda. Any changes?
No, I just want to repeat that you have a hard stop at 10:30, so I just want to move through the agenda so that we have plenty of time in commissioner reports to make sure we have proper welcome for talk to, so.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need to say aye.
Oh, and he can't.
He's
He's not
not.
sworn in yet. Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
don't get
We're
ahead.
getting close, we're getting close.
Almost there.
Next, we'll move on to approval of the consent agenda, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of the 21st, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 14th, and approval of claims for May 28th.
So I have a, I sent Chris a question on claims.
Okay.
So what we could do is approve everything else and then just hold up.
Or I could just make the comment now.
Sure, great.
So we needed a crane to lower the pump in the VFD for pump 5.
Okay.
And we don't have a crane, so we contract with Nest Cranes. And
Okay, yeah, great, thank you. And then the other question is that last week when we had the special meeting, I noticed there was a lot going on out here. There was a line failure. Could you just update that and what that was? And do we see the costs and the claims here, or will that be in the next report?
there'll be the next report. So what happened was we had no flow on one of our meters that we had turned on out there,
Mhm.
part of our seasonal irrigation. And we believed we had a real problem. It turned out we had a valve we didn't know even existed that it was turned off. And so the excavation, now we've got everything mapped correctly and we know it's there and everything's turned on. And it's probably going to be somewhere around 15,000 total.
To replace the valve?
We ended up not replacing the valve.
Okay.
The contract for the excavation, and gets the exact numbers, but around 8,000. And then the additional labor that was around that was about 5,000 more.
Okay.
And then I'm rounding up to get to 15.
Thank you. I had no further questions on the claims then. So I'll go ahead and, if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we move to the. Are we supposed to stand up and do this? Yeah.
Two of you.
Yeah.
Brian, you're gonna take a couple pictures. Yep. Excellent.
Is Brian the minister? Is that?
No, he's a photographer.
All right. I, Gregory Todd Legacy,
I, Gregory Todd Legacy,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform
that I will faithfully and impartially perform
and discharge the duties of the office of Public Utility District Number 1 Commissioner
discharge the duties of the office of Public Utilities Commissioner District Number 1
in and for the County of Whatcom,
in and for the county of Whatcom,
State of Washington,
state of Washington,
according to law and to the best of my ability.
according to law and the best of my ability.
You're not put that thing.
Now Todd is with us.
Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a comment?
Thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Whatcom. I appreciate it. And I'm going to work on it for 5 or 6 months.
Thank you.
No, it's a lifetime.
Okay, and next we will move on to public comment. Anyone present? No.
Maybe, yeah.
And is there anyone online? It doesn't look like there's any hands raised. So we will move on to the general manager's report.
Thank you, commissioners. Last week, I had the good fortune to be in an economic conference over in Bend, Oregon. And I'm going to get all the presentations, get them all to you guys and have a little bit of an update. One of the really interesting kind of side benefits, they had a lot of parallel tracks that were going. These were government officials. They were folks that were economists in large companies, things like that, not associated necessarily with the power industry, although one of the economists was from Avista. But the interesting thing that I found was one of the key topics was around the potential breaching the Snake River Dam. And it had nothing to do with flood, irrigation, or power. They were looking strictly at the economic impact on dryland wheat farming in the 4 states and what the change in barge traffic would have to do with that. And their conclusion was it would largely destroy the wheat farming in those 4 states. And the other thing that was interesting about that particular presentation was something like 95% of all of the wheat farms in the 4-state area are family owned. And that's 95% whether you go by count or acreage. And so it's a very large non-corporate landholding system that would be harmed by removal of the barging system on the Snake River and the Columbia River. So that was one of the interesting things I want to bring back to you guys as soon as we have it. The other thing that I want to talk about is we do have 2 resolutions for folks that are not with us anymore, Christine Grant and Ann Grimm. Would this be an appropriate time to introduce those resolutions and
Yes.
talk about it? Part of it is, John, are you okay with that?
You're muted, John. Okay.
I realize that and thumbs up, yes.
Okay.
Just before you move on, I just want to say for the public's benefit that the Snake River Dam issue is an extremely politically rich place. And I certainly heard from large and small farmers, some of whom I know. In a prior life, I worked with Cascade Grain Growers, Odessa Grain Growers. And I'm familiar with that industry. And that it's a mixed bag. There are some who feel that Snake River Dam's loss will be substantial, and others who believe differently. And because I'm not, even though I know those people, just like I'm not a fisherman, I think it's better if the public park community not speak on behalf of farmers or fishermen, because we are neither.
Just a quick question. Which 4 states? Is it Montana or Wyoming that's a forest?
Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. Thank you. We're the 4 states.
Let's get to these resolutions.
Okay, I don't have a copy of them in front of me. Do you have them? I think I've got them in the.
That's no, that's for the
Yeah.
cancellation of the warrant, isn't it? I don't have the other ones.
Can we
Sorry.
postpone it to the next meeting?
We can postpone both of them to the next meeting. Sure.
Okay. All right.
I will stay on time too.
Anything else for you?
No.
Okay. All right, then we will move to old business and begin with a broadband update. And you, Andrew?
Turn this so I'm facing you, if that's okay. Good morning, Commissioners, Chris, and welcome, Mr. Legacy. Nice to see you again. So I'm going to talk about broadband, and typically when I give the broadband update, it's referring to our Point Roberts broadband project. Just real brief history of the broadband project. We were awarded funds from both the state of Washington, the state WSBO, Washington State Broadband Office, and matching dollars were provided by Whatcom County. And then we also had a direct allocation from the governor's budget this year. So it's about $3.7 million total. So that was executed in late last year, the contracts for the funding allocations. And then we moved forward with a design engineering firm. There was a large period where we solicited invitations to bid on the engineering portion of that was around February. And now fast forward, this week or next week, we'll be receiving the finalized design set from that engineering firm, and that's Cobb Finley and Associates. So we're moving right along. So my report today is pretty brief, but once we get those once we get those design sets, we'll be able to move forward with permitting like PSC and environmental and cultural resources and all that. So things are moving right along. I do want to let you know that I did meet with I attended the Point Roberts Broadband Advisory Group. They asked myself and Would-Be Tell to come talk about the status of their projects, and Would-Be Tell did a great job giving an update on their project, and I gave an update on ours. I showed the tracker. Maybe I can, maybe Chris can send you the tracker that we use. So we'll keep that tracker updated, which is basically a project management resource that gives you the rundown of where the construction is, and then we'll add a permitting piece to that as well. And then I met with a gal who has done a lot of projects with the water and sewer out there on Point Roberts, and we had an offline conversation, and she told me about where all the cultural resource areas and areas to kind of avoid for underground there. We're primarily overhead for this particular project. So that was really nice. She's not an archaeologist by any means, but she was able to tell me where areas of non-significance are and some areas where you might want to go aerial and not underground. So that was really helpful. And I guess the folks that we're working with, or we're intending to work with here soon, are really good and have done lots of archaeology work out there on the point. So I'm excited that we're working with some folks who have worked with the community there and have also worked well with the tribe. So more to come on that front. I think that's everything. Kick back to Chris.
No, that
Okay.
pretty much covers it. You're going to hear about this. I guess, first of all, the tracker that Andrew's put together lives on our website. So it's open to the public. And obviously you guys can anytime you want. And they'll be updated as things change. So, if it's a week out of date or 2 weeks out of date, it just means we don't have a new plan set or nothing has happened in that time.
Any questions for Andrew?
Yes, I have questions about the status on our beach application, obviously pre-work. So where are we at? One of the things that's been a topic of discussion in the updates is the line of credit discussion. I know that Gina was working on trying to get that waived for public entities. I wanted to know where we're at on that. If you have any updates on that subject. And we had discussed both bonding as well as a line of credit. Are we pretty much favoring, if we have to do one or the other, that we're going to do the bond rather than the line of credit, or the line of credit rather than the bond? These questions about.
Yeah, so that's really essentially a question for staff. And in the event where we go and do it, we will go with the low cost option. So that'll determine whether we go with bonding or line letter of credit.
When you say if, is there now doubts about whether we're going to pursue a bead applications?
I don't think there's any doubt we're going to pursue, but the point is that you have to know the amount of money you're applying for. And we've got to go through a whole bunch of steps to get to the point where we've actually scoped out the dollar value of what it is we're doing. And we're still working on that. Once you do that, then you know whether you're talking about a $5 million bond or a $50 million bond. And that's a very different thing, or a $5 million line of credit or a $50 million line of credit. We're just not there yet.
Right. When are the solicitations going to go in, and when do we need to have that kind of this estimate together? So
the NOFO will drop when it drops. And we think that's going to be in the fall.
Roughly September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they've said.
Yes.
And the WSBO has been really notorious for not making the deadlines. So, if they say September, if they deliver on September, I'm absolutely delighted. If they deliver in November or December, I'm not dismayed. That's the way they operate. And, at that point, we will see what the requirements are and make sure we can meet everything and get everything priced out and go. But there's so much you can do before the NOFO drops, and then you just got to hit it when it drops.
Okay, and the criteria that we need to evaluate to decide what regions we're going to apply for, are they all dependent on the NOFO? Things that we expect out of NOFO that we don't know yet? Are there unknowns that we still need to know so that we know which envelopes we're going to apply for?
So first thing that you need to know is what the project areas are.
Yeah.
And although I think we've got a pretty good handle on that, we don't know until the NOFO drops. And they've gone from 7 areas to as many as 11, I think.
Right, and I think
times.
we're at 12 now,
Okay.
which is still draft.
So we don't know what the areas are going to be. And we worked with the port so that we know which ones they're going to try and tackle. Should those come up, we know exactly how that's going to get configured and which ones we're going to tackle. And then I've got to tell you, one of the areas that we're going to tackle is the concrete, the whole where the Skagit River comes up into Whatcom County. There are 2 little communities there that are part of the unserved areas. And it turns out they're both wholly owned communities, wholly owned by Seattle City Light. And so Andrew's been in contact with their manager and so far there's no interest on their part at all of even cooperating with us. And we don't know if that's because they're serving it on a private system that's not visible to the FCC. Or if it's just so low on their priority list, they're like, don't talk to us until it's real. We're not sure. So there's all those kinds of things we're working through right now.
Will we discuss this more during our broadband?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna put a pin, since we'll discuss it during our broadband workshop.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
so moving on, thank you, Andrew. Moving on to an adjudication update.
Sure, I have sure, I'll take care of this. I have 2 topics and then, question if you want the executive session, I put it there primarily for Commissioner Legacy, if you wanted a little bit of an update of what's happening on the litigation front in executive session, or we can speak offline another time. But the 2 things that I would advise you up here in the update is, one, the bar committee is continuing to look at the rules. I think the court's still trying to sort out all the technical procedures of when can you file motions, what are they going to do with the notice of appearance. We filed the notice of appearance, and that's a document lawyers file to assure they get service in a case and notification of motions. With 10 to 30,000 parties, it'll be very expensive if people have to serve. So we're trying to get the court, and the court's working on an electronic service or a docketing system where things are posted and you can go online, pro se or attorneys can go online and find out what's been filed. But there's a lot of anxiety amongst the lawyers, given that we have a June 26th hearing for the issuance of the summons that's will be or has been requested by Ecology. So the last committee meeting is in June, and from there I expect what's been discussed and the court's considering is a advisory committee that the court can ask questions of a select group of lawyers and possible pro se litigants to comment on potential rules or issues in litigation to help the court manage the system efficiently. So that may be appointed by early summer. The next thing is and Tim, Chris might chime in. There's the watershed management team, and recall we sent a letter a month or 2 ago with questions and concerns about the Utah State study and reliance on that study and having Saturna Capital go further examination based upon what we thought was not best available science. The city's consultant, Aspect Consulting, wrote a similar letter to the committee about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I think I mentioned that to you at the last commission meeting. And that has caused the Saturna Capital and some members of the committee to start trying to rework some of the scope of extrapolations based upon the Utah State study. It's our sense in our review, it doesn't go far enough and doesn't address the concerns that we raised or the city raised. And so it may not be fully vetted at the meeting, which I think, Chris, I was late last week. I think it wasn't fully vetted. Was pushed over to the next committee meeting, but you may have more detail on that to fill me in. But that's kind of where things are happening there.
Tomorrow, today's Tuesday.
It's fun.
Tomorrow, when you have these weird weeks, anyway, tomorrow is the staff team meeting, and normally Rebecca would sit in on that. She's going to be out of town. I'll be sitting in on it, and that's tomorrow afternoon. And they're going to talk about it. And the tribe is actually bringing the fellow who did the original study for Utah State to pitch why we should continue to make investments in this whole antique, linear, outdated study. And my sense is that if the tribe really wants to make an investment in that, then they should. But in terms of what the watershed should be doing, that's probably not the best use of our money. It'd be better spent on different studies or habitat restoration efforts or things that we know need to be done regardless. And I am personally convinced that the study is so out of date that it's hopeless, and that in fact, creating a brand new study would be both cheaper and more accurate than updating that antique.
And you may,
So let's,
And you may-
let's.
if I could add one thing. Yeah, okay, if I could
Go
add
ahead,
one
John.
thing.
Yeah.
You may recall that the committee a number of years ago, pre-Chris Karmgartner, during Steve Jook's tenure as general manager, the committee did not renew Mr. Hardy's contract for the study for a lot of the concerns that have been expressed.
Oh, so Mr. Hardy was the one who was wanting to do a continuation.
He's the one that's being brought in tomorrow to talk to us about doing the continuation and why that's a
I
great
think-
thing.
And Saturna Capital is the one that would, not Saturna Capital, but Saturna Environmental is the one that would do the study update.
Thank you.
Which is, okay, so there's a lot here, and I don't want to get into it. We have a session already scheduled to go into more depth on this subject. So just though for the public's benefit is that there is a desire from the PUD as somewhat captured by the general manager to do an assessment to improve the fidelity of our understanding of the Nooksack Basin. And so as a result of that, there is some difference of perspective. I don't want to amplify it or reduce the size of it, but there's a difference of perspective how to go about doing that between what the PUD is saying and what the natural resources directors of the tribes are saying. And we're very dedicated to come to common opinion on the subject. But it's a delicate matter, and we should respect the sensitivity of that. Thank you.
Anything else, John?
That was it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to a geothermal update.
Mr. Entrican.
Hello again. What I know to date is that the RFP for the pre-feasibility work is with the tribe, and the tribe is soliciting feedback from multiple stakeholders. I know Chris put them in touch with a local geologist, geothermal leader, I believe Mr. Herman is his name. And then I know that they're also working now with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, to get comments and feedback on the RFP prior to them releasing it and soliciting responses.
Didn't they also PNL?
Yes,
as well?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And just for your information, the Scott Herman, the fellow, I'm hesitant to call him a geophysicist. I'm not really sure what degrees he has, but he is actually the geologist of record on a couple of the geothermal projects that are currently underway in the Salton Sea area in California. So these are ones, so one of them is 400 megawatts. These are not insignificant, and these are all a go. They're all permitted, they're in construction, and they should be online in the next 18 months. So it's this is the real deal. This fellow just happens to live up here. He's got work all over the world. He's done work in New Zealand. I don't think he's done Iceland, but he's been all over the place. And anyway, to Nooksack, we're delighted to be hooked up with him, and I think he's really going to help the team.
Questions?
One other thing, we did a site visit.
Yep.
And actually went up to where the two wellheads are and the old test wellheads. And the purpose of the visit was twofold. One, just I'd never been there. And, it's kind of, you want to say, yeah, I've been there. I've looked at that.
Did you guys
And,
bring your swimming trunks?
no.
So lovely.
So the purpose was to find out if it was, relatively accessible, or if you had to be mountain goat, and that was one thing. And then was there any ability to have any parking up there so we could actually take small groups? And I think the answer was, if I could do it, it felt like a stroll. It's accessible. And there was some limited parking. So we've got the ability to get a couple of vehicles up there, and And then it's about a half-mile walk with maybe a 20-foot elevation gain. I mean, it's just a really nice walk in the woods. And we were able to easily find the 2 test wells. Let me rephrase that. 1 test well has not been decommissioned. It's still sticking about at the ground. The wreckage from the other test well is laying there, and we don't know where the well itself was because the remediation's already started. So,
Can the commission take a field trip?
absolutely. That's why we went up there, was to see if it was accessible.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a lot of people that have asked to go up there, and
Mhm.
before we said, oh, sure, good idea to go look.
Yeah,
Yes, it
okay, great.
was very nice.
It was,
We'll wanna
and it
plan
was
that.
raining and it was fine. I mean, the path was a little bit muddy, but it's a really well-maintained gravel road back about a half mile from the main road to the well site.
So as part of that, did you evaluate infrastructure too? Meaning, of course, we have the PSC infrastructure, there is the PSC infrastructure, there is the Seattle City Light infrastructure. Did you think about any about that, what the proximity of that is and what kind of accessibility we would need if we were to generate electricity?
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned this to the commission before. It really depends on the size of the project. Once you cross beyond a certain point, you can't really use any of those facilities, and you've got to come out on your own. So the question becomes, in the pre-feasibility study, what data do you need to gather to determine how big the project could be? And then once you do that, then you start the actual test wells and the feasibility study. And out of the feasibility study would come the sizing for the plant, the transmission requirements, at least for output, and then that would drive transmission routing and where you can intertie. So those are great questions, Commissioner. We're just not there yet. We're way earlier in the system than.
No, we don't know our order of magnitude.
No. In fact, we don't even know within 2 orders of magnitude. So that's kind of the problem. Is this a 20 megawatt issue, or is it 1,000 megawatt
Yeah,
issue?
thank you.
Questions? No? Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Andrew. Okay, we will move on to new business and start with the approval of resolution 849, a cancellation of warrants. Welcome.
It's over here now. So we just have the resolution 849. It was a warrant that was based off of an estimate instead of an invoice, so we're gonna go ahead and cancel it, and we don't need a new one made.
Okay. Questions?
No problem. Make a motion to approve resolution 849 for the cancellation of a warrant.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are going to move to the discussion of June and July commission work sessions. Start with a broadband workshop. Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we should talk about what are the things we want to cover, obviously broadband because of the obviously budget because of budget.
Yes.
And I would assume it would be the two.
I mean, yeah, broadband and budget are both.
They both start with B.
Maybe. Do you want us to choose dates now?
Well, I don't think we're done with the list yet. So now that Todd's on board, I'd like to bring back the work that we started with Ms. Hoyer. And,
Oh, yeah.
kind of restart that whole effort. I've been sitting on the output from that, waiting.
Yeah,
No.
thankfully Todd was there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I mean, it'll be pretty easy to bring him up to speed, to say the least. And so I would suggest that for another work session. And the timing on that's not critical, but it's still important. So it's, you guys have to let me know.
Yeah, what aspect of that commission is relevant to our budget or our broadband application for B? What aspect of our vision and strategic thinking going forward is essential for our current budget and our current BEAD application?
Well, I don't know that it would be, but the visioning the time that we spent on visioning, we should probably solidify. So that it's easy when we move into strategic planning, we're
next year.
more focused, yeah. It's probably going to be maybe more than one just workshop talking about that, don't you think?
I would expect so.
Yeah,
And I would expect that it would go into strategic planning workshops
Right.
this fall.
yes,
So
yeah. So it is timely to discuss it this summer.
It is, and
Yeah.
I would say that the everything we do, broadband, geothermal, the short-term budgets, everything is kind of subordinate to the vision.
Right.
So in that sense, they're very tightly.
Right,
related.
yeah.
The other part of it that was, in my mind, really productive was just how the team works together. And that is going to be important as we move through the budget season and everything else. So, you know, I would just urge you not to put it off too long. And, you know, I'm not sure which should go first in what order.
What does the commission think of doing all three in 2 months? In the next 2 months?
And that's fine with me.
That is what I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah. So board retreat, also another big. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's start with a board retreat one, however. And then maybe broadband.
Mhm. Do we want to do those here? Or do we want to move them around now?
Well, we had discussed moving them to
Yeah,
different
my intent is
areas.
to move them.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
We'd have, so, you know, we'd have our normal board meetings here and then our workshops, regardless of what they're about, would be somewhere else. We'd spread it around.
yeah.
That's what I thought I heard from you.
Yes,
guys.
that's exactly what.
So do we want to pick locations or let Chris have it? Maybe one in,
We've got to go to Plain.
we could-
Yeah, well, Blaine, we're gonna do one in Bellingham,
That's
and we were
east.
looking one out in Linden or
Demi?
no, Jamie, you had a suggestion for a location.
Oh, and
There was a
Everson.
discussion of Everson.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Everson, Blaine, and what else?
He said Linden.
I didn't even-
I
You
think
know-
we should go north, I mean, south from.
Said no. Or
well, it depends on where the facilities are. That's kind of the driver.
I have no preference.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll let Chris.
Decide some
Yeah.
place further south.
And
Okay.
I'll give you guys enough notice that, you know, we can discuss it in future meetings and you can say, no, we want to have it here for this
Sure.
reason.
If we're going to, when we're going to Everson or Blaine, I may come here and get you to give me the. Chris,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
or meet me at the truck stop or something,
Like I said, we'll figure it out.
figure it out.
great. So we have the beginnings of a plan.
So do you want me to pick dates and just propose them to you guys email, or do we want to look at calendars now? I'm fine either way.
I would prefer that we get them in an email.
Okay.
With some dates.
So we'll plan accordingly.
Yeah, I have.
But I think the few things that I think Jamie's communicated, and it's appropriate for Todd, for us to hear from you too on this, is that you said for these retreats, you prefer them to be the afternoon,
Mhm.
and you really like Fridays.
I do. Like,
I have no opinion. I'm happy to meet whatever.
And those
Recently retired,
afternoons
so
and after Fridays work good for me, so if you want to pick 3 Fridays, that would be wonderful. The 3 Friday afternoons. Obviously, the other staff, I don't know, Andrew may hate Friday afternoons or something, I don't know, I'm okay with. But he's already been super accommodating today, thank you, man.
Well, and I would just suggest that we try and wrap them up by, 3:30, 4 o'clock. And not run into the evening.
Yeah, it's good.
That's my personal preference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. With that being concluded, we will move on to the operations reports. Oh, okay.
Morning, Commissioners.
Hi, Kurt.
Just a couple of quick things. So over at Plant One, hopefully by this Friday, we should have our new VFD5 up and running. Something that Mills Electric has been working on for the last several months. We're gonna have the Rockwell rep. Rockwell is the actual brand of the VFD coming here later this week to do commissioning services. So the VFD provides us the ability to slowly ramp up or down as our water demands change. And that creates a little bit of, gives us a little more wiggle room at Plant One because a lot of that stuff's getting so old. So shutting off the non-VFD pumps, it's always hard on the gear, the electrical switch gear or the actual pump. So having this VFD gives us some ability to, like I said, change our output flows a little more smoothly. And then another thing that happened last week is we had a couple of tours of high schoolers from Ferndale High School. I was approached by WRS, which is a local contractor here in town that PUD works with quite a bit, and they do a lot of work out at Cherry Point and other stuff. But I was approached by one of their leads. I guess WRS does a lot of work with high schoolers over the years, not necessarily only Ferndale High School, but other high schools in the county. And it's a introduction to trades class. That might not be the exact term, but that's what they do there. And so they have some WRS personnel go there and bring some equipment of some sort, and the high schoolers work on it, and then they try and find companies or facilities out in the county that are willing to have them tour. So we had 2 different tours of about 20 kids each, and they were high schoolers, so there was a lot of silence, but there was some good questions here and there. And the lead from WRS had said that they pretty much always have 1 or 2 kids come out of that program and get hired right away. So it seems like a good thing that they're doing, and it was kind of neat to have them here and check out our facilities.
Thank you,
And
Kurt.
that's all.
Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you for supporting that. That's really a big deal. Obviously, we all know that getting people in our line of work is challenging. So, yeah, I mean, I'm
Great.
glad we're doing it. I'm glad if you need any input, but keep up the good. I hope we can do lots of that.
Great.
Hey,
Thank you,
Kurt,
Commissioner.
you used an acronym. Was it VFP or variable
Yeah, okay,
frequency?
so VFD, that's a variable frequency drive. And that allows us to not just have the pump either on or off, like I was mentioning we can run it at different speeds, and so for different output flows.
Thank you.
Of course.
That does bring up a good point though, Todd.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've mentioned it many times before with the acronyms. I had a funny suggestion at a WAPUDA meeting, I think a year ago, is that we set up a jar, and every time somebody uses an acronym, they owe the jar money. So,
I don't mind the
Yeah,
acronyms.
yeah,
I
brought
just need
that
a
up, but-
translation.
Yeah, and so does the public though.
yeah. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Commissioner.
questions? Okay, all right, we will move on to commissioner reports. I'll start with you, Atul.
Okay, great. One thing I want to bring up is for all of us, and that's the committees for WAPUDA. Given that Todd is a short timer, I think it makes sense probably for us to keep our committees as they are. However, I also want to make sure, Todd, that you are aware that our next WAPUDA meetings are July 17th through 19th. And it's a great way to get some background. I will be attending by Zoom, but they are in, can someone tell me, remind me the town, Southwest Washington,
Yeah, it's in Cowlitz County. I can't
Kelso.
remember.
near Kelso.
Kelso, yeah.
Yeah, Longview area. Certainly welcome to go. You should make your bookings right away because the blocks will expire. I won't be going. I will be attending via Zoom. I don't know. I'm Commissioner, so it would be great to have someone attend. If you're feeling like doing a trip, obviously the way it works is that your expenses are covered. You receive a per diem for the days you attend, which is typically 3 days.
If you guys can't attend, I can. So that's normally what I'll do is I'll cover it. If, we're not gonna have a physical presence down there, I'll go down.
So something for you two to figure out in the next week or so. And next thing is, there was a letter that WAPUDA put out on about the subject of markets. The participation in electricity markets. And that letter basically said that WAPUDA supports the Bonneville. It was a very soft a preference towards the Southwest power market. And Chris, please correct me if I'm wrong. It was a very mild endorsement. I thought it would be a little bit stronger. And
Well-
one of the things I want to find out is if you think that as as we had talked about in a previous commission meeting, that we're very fine letting them take the lead. And if there's any further input that you think we should consider on that subject of markets to Bonneville Power more than we've made.
So I think in a sense, we're the tail wagging the dog here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and the way you characterize it is exactly correct.
okay, thanks.
And it's, I would even go a little bit further because Bonneville hasn't expressed a preference for the SPP market structure. They have professed a leaning towards it. So we have a soft recommendation on a leaning. So it's, yeah, and I would say that a way to think about it, the way I think about it, organized markets are better than non-organized markets. End of story. If the only organized market you can get is run by California, it's still better than what we have today. It's just not ideal. Taking it a step further and having it where it's not governed by California, so the entire West doesn't run for the benefit of San Francisco and LA, that in my mind is a better deal, and that's what SPP looks like. But as I said, the current market structure is completely bilateral and is very inefficient. It's very difficult to tell what the clearing prices are and what the forwards are. It's a very thinly traded market right now. And you have to have definitive counterparties. If you're in an organized market, you've got an agent that represents generators and buyers, and you can do that in mass. And so you get an actual clearing price, the way that economists would think of a clearing price in terms of a supply and demand curve. You can actually draw it. There's no data points, and so the organized markets are the way to go. California dominated one, the SPP dominated one better. And then the last thing I'll say on this is that if you look at the long-lived markets in the United States, you can look at New York ISO, you can look at Cal ISO, you can look at ERCOT, MISO, and I'm throwing out a lot of acronyms here. I'm glad there's no jar.
Midwest market,
Yeah,
MISO's Midwest.
that's MISO, PJM, look at all of these.
Pacific.
Well, no, PJM is, I don't even know what that stands for, but it's up, it goes from Chicago over to Philly.
Really, okay.
That's the PJM market. And then there's ISO New England, which is north of ISO New York. Anyway, a lot of those markets have existed for 20 or more years. Every single one of them is flawed. Let me say that again. Every single one of them is flawed. There is no perfect way to do this. It's just what flaws do you choose to live with? And how do you work through those flaws when they get in the way of delivering, a reliable, cost-effective service to customers? And each one of the flaws that they find in each one of the markets has to be dealt with separately with FERC. So while I say that, bilateral markets have issues, multilateral markets have issues as well. There is no perfect answer. And I just think that organized markets are better than disorganized markets.
So just going on, another very serious topic, line dancing. I was invited to orchestrate a line dancing event at the next WAPUDA meeting. Of course, I won't be able to attend, so it'll be later unless Todd wants to orchestrate line dancing. They're gonna take us up on that
All right.
for the next WAPUDA meeting. Very serious matter. So
I know you're serious about your dance.
Very much, especially line dancing.
So, as the next thing is the municipal water law. There's a meeting next week. I think you're going to attend. And you'll be per diem. I won't be per diem, but I want to attend just for my own education. And
I think that's available virtually, right?
I'll be
I think I'm on that as well on Zoom.
Yeah, and I just think it's a great long-term topic of knowledge that I want us to continue to develop. PBC meetings are coming up. I'll be attending those next week. I don't think there's any other per diem items that I have that are coming up. Oh, there is an upcoming EDM too, that I'll be attending. So just informing you all about that. So if anything else comes up, I'll catch you at the end of the meeting.
Commissioner, are you looking for a per diem for that?
Well, I'm already, EDI, I'm already the designee, PPC, I've already announced it before, but, I don't. I'm not asking.
So it's on the list.
It's an
Yeah.
FYI here. Okay. It's on the list. I think that's it for my, commissioner report. Oh, well, just congratulations and welcome. Thanks. And, it's just three of us. And, we only get to talk here.
This is our mission.
So.
Do you have a computer support?
Yeah, so anyway, what happens, what I just want to say is that what happens here is it's really important for us to be really open in the commission meeting. Be supportive of each other, not that I'm asking anyone to do anything differently. I'm just saying that because we don't get to talk outside of this room, this is our place. And that's one of the reasons we don't follow really strict parliamentary procedure is for that reason, to create enough environment for us to support each other. And even if we have to be critical of each other, we have to do that here. And so to be kind when we're being critical. And so I have nothing to criticize about anybody, but just letting you know that it might happen and it's all intended to being supportive of each other at the same time. So welcome again. Thanks. That's my comments.
Do you have anything you want to say for Commissioner report?
I would just like to ask maybe what we do for PR during parade season. We're coming up in with Pride Parade, and then Blaine has their 4th of July parade, and then there's the Old Settlers Parade, and then eventually there's the Linden Parade, and then you come back around, and then there's the couple Bellingham parades. And one of the things that I think the PUD has an opportunity for is we talked a little bit about this in my interview about maybe increasing some funding like with Whatcom Conservation District did. And so the first step of that is making sure that the public understands who we are and what we do. And I think a great opportunity is parade season. So do we enter anything in? I think I would love to have a conversation with you maybe a little bit afterwards, Chris, about that opportunity.
I think most of our PR work we do through the WIN and other, direct,
WIN?
yeah, it's,
There's that
Welcome
acronym.
Watershed Information Network.
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 W's.
Yeah, WWIN. And it is a longstanding organization, 20+ years, and they have a number of activities during the summer where we actually are either co-sponsors or lead. Rebecca normally runs those for us, and that's where we've had our PR. So it's all been directly water related, and we've done that. We don't have any specialty equipment. That was one of the questions you had. So we don't have like a big boom in a bucket or heavy crane or anything like that. We have pickup trucks. So it's not like we've got something that's parade ready.
Okay. Well, we can talk a little.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John, do you have a question?
I do. I just, for Commissioner Legacy's benefit, so the commission has spent quite a bit of time over the last few years on its per diem policy. I want to make sure you're familiar with that. There's a number of pre-approved activities that are predetermined to be a per diem event, if you will. And the reason this is structured this way is the statute says that the commissioner has per diem for matters that are for the benefit of the district. So who decides that? It could be the commission as when you submit your per diems as a consent agenda. It could be a general manager approving that. In the past, the general managers have not wanted to approve or deny a commissioner's or boss's per diems, if you will. And then one commissioner did not want to be looking over the shoulder of another commissioner and approving those. So the structure that we came up with, which is probably a bit unique with PUD commissions, is to have a resolution that has a process by which you go through for approval of per diem. So if you don't have if it's an event that you're not assigned to or pre-approved, you raise those during the commissioner's report, and it gives the commissioners the opportunity to question, is that really for the benefit of the district? And we don't require a motion. We just deem that the absence of objection is deemed consent.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
And actually that a couple of things also sort of in regard to that. Are we going to have like an onboarding or OPMA sort of rundown for Todd
I did speak to Todd about that at the last commission meeting, and we'll either set something up here. I'll coordinate with Chris once I'm back. If we do that at a commission meeting for everybody, or if Todd does that in a one-on-one meeting, or Todd decides to watch the Attorney General's presentations, we'll coordinate that here in the next week.
Oh, good, okay.
And just,
And if
I
the
have,
rest,
go ahead, sir.
if the rest, yeah, thank you. If the rest of the commission wants to have one of the updates, we can do it at a commission meeting. But it's only Todd right now that needs it.
Yeah, I don't think that I need to, yeah.
And I have been through some OPMA, Open Public Meetings Act training with my position on the Ethics Commission and the Whatcom County Ferry Advisory Committee.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. That was one of the things Todd had asked and Todd raised, and I said we would look into whether those recently done could count towards this training. So
It makes sense to have a tour of facilities if you haven't had one already.
I'm gonna be talking to him about that after the meeting. I've got a whole bunch of things to go over with him.
Okay, great.
It also brought up just a question for me. I know, and I'm probably annoying with it, but we've talked multiple times about policy revisions for travel and policy revisions for things like recognizing employees and I know it's something that's been being worked on. Is it still being worked on? Is there any progress?
Yeah, we've got final reviews, and yeah, John can talk about it also, but we've got it back and forth between us and John and Peter. And so we've got the travel policy, we've got, I think there's like 6 of them that we're probably in the next couple of commission meetings, we'll be bringing to you to see.
Great,
So yeah, it's been worked
okay,
out for the
I
last
think
year.
there's only 1 or 2 left. That was one of the things Ann was working on with us before her departure. We have 1 or 2 outstanding after her departure.
One of them is a complete update of the employee manual. So that's got a lot of stuff in it. And that we need to get an updated copy of that to each of you and obviously walk Todd through it so that he knows what's there.
great, thank you. Lastly, yeah, I will be attending the water meeting next week. And that is it for me. So let's move on to public comment. You have one more chance. Anyone? No, okay. Anyone online? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. So we are going to adjourn for an executive session in regard to potential litigation, water rights adjudication. How long do we think this will take? 20 minutes? You think it'll be 20 minutes?
I'm not sure
You're
if it's fully
muted.
20. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if it'd be fully 20 minutes. I think we'll, if there's any general questions Todd has, we'll address those. I can go more in depth with matters with Todd. He's received a copy of the notebook that had been given to the commissioner. He has Christine's notebook, so I'm sure he's digested that in the last week, fully.
Actually, John, he'll receive a copy of that after this meeting.
Oh, after this meeting. Okay, sorry. So
I'm going to meet with
So
him
I'll
and
have-
talk to him about that.
So he'll have it digested by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we'll go. So I don't know that there's an in-depth on that. If you wanted to follow up anything from the adjudication update, we can do that. But I'd say probably 10 minutes.
So how about we anticipate that it will go until 9:30.
Okay. Could I suggest a couple of break before then?
Yeah, and we will take a couple minutes recess before then.
So
Yep.
just for Chris and Mike's benefit, I had sent out a link separately. So I think Mike's going to switch us over to that. And I'll be on the other link for the executive session.
Yep, I just need about 5 minutes after you guys convene.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right,
So we're going to.
We're going to
adjourn.
Convene the
Yes.
executive session.
yes.
All right.
I did. Okay, we are now back from the executive session. No action was taken. We would like to end this meeting with a couple of resolutions to commemorate.
We just want to honor
Yeah.
a former commissioner and a former employee. And that's what these 2 resolutions are for.
The first is resolution number 851, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County, honoring Commissioner Christine Grant. Whereas Christine Grant has served as Commissioner of Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County from January 1st, 2021 until April 30th, 2024. And whereas the commission and the district staff are indebted to Christine Grant for her years of able public service, having served the district faithfully with the best interests of the district always foremost in her deliberations and official actions, and having given generously of her time and talents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Board of Commissioners of Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County do hereby express their sincere appreciation and the appreciation of the people of Whatcom County for Christine Grant's outstanding service to the district and for the privilege of having been associated with her on the commission. Be it further resolved that the members of this commission extend to her their sincere best wishes for the future, and be it further resolved that this resolution can be recorded in the official minutes of this meeting and that a copy thereof be delivered to Christine Grant, adopted by the Board of Commissioners of the Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County at a regular meeting thereof held this 28th day of May 2020.
Do we provide a framed copy to her?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So the resolution,
I'll make a motion to adopt that resolution.
thank you, Commissioner.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. And now before us, we have resolution number 852, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County, honoring Ann Grimm for 16 years of service as an administrative assistant to general manager. Whereas Ann Grimm served as administrative assistant to the general manager for Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County from January 3rd, 2017 to May 17, 2024. And whereas Ann Grimm served the district most capably with interests of the district always foremost, and having given generously of her time and talents in performing the various duties of her job as administrative assistant, including clerk to the board and record of retention. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners do hereby express their sincere appreciation of Ann Grimm's value service to the district, and the commissioners extend to her their sincere best wishes for the future. Be it resolved that this resolution be recorded in the permanent records of the district and that a copy thereof be given to Ann Grimm, adopted by the Board of Commissioners of Public Utility District Number 1 of Whatcom County at a regular meeting held this 28th day of May 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have no additional business to bring before the commission today.
It looks like we will adjourn then at 9:50.